Welcome to Dr. TSPR show. This is Dr. Tangella Shiva Prasad Reddy alias Dr. TSPR. Namaste, Adab, hello, and a warm welcome to Mr. SN Ravichandran. He is going to be the hero of the day because this topic is such that we have been doing so many shows very regularly in larger public interest. हम जो भी शो कर रहे हैं रविचंद्रन साहब के साथ और उनके साथी भी थे राजेंद्रन जी या लोकेश बाबू के साथ, हमने एक ऐसा दौर, एक ऐसा लाइव शो हमने बनाया जो प्रजाहित में हो, संविधान के दौर पर, आधार के दौर पर, कानून के दौर पर. दिस शोज विच वी हैव बीन डूइंग टुगेदर और प्योरली बेस्ड ऑन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, law of the land, invoking evidential act. Any issue. Recently again we have seen how the cryptocurrency has fallen down, how it is coming down, and the another headlines. So they have been vindicating whatever we have been doing right from August 2021. Every show you can take, but somehow the people like YouTube, Facebook or Twitter, they have other notions. They try to pull down the videos, they try to create all nonsensical things, but still we advise them before we start going for damage suits, you set up your own house in order, because we release a flyer poster much earlier with the title, guest name, my entire details are there with including my mobile number. Anyone can contact us. If you are willing, you can participate, but with evidences. You can prove us wrong. आप हमको गलत बता सकते हैं. पूरी जानकारी हम पोस्टर फ्लायर शो के पहले हम रिलीज़ करते हैं. फिर भी यूट्यूब हो या ट्विटर हो, जिस तरह ये सता रहे हमको, उनको भारी मूल्य चलाने पड़ेगी फ्यूचर में, क्योंकि हम जो भी अक्सर प्रजाहित में करते हैं. और आज का शो भी क्योंकि ये बिल्कुल प्रजाहित में है. जब ट्विटर, यूट्यूब जैसे लोग हमको सताते हैं, when the social media platforms like Twitter, YouTube, when they try to harass us, trouble us, why? Because governments does not want us to give correct information or rightful information. That is how common man is thinking. Why should not? Because we tag government, everyone we tag in the flyer poster, right from America to India. Who is who of every concern is tagged with the flyer or poster. Everywhere this flyer or poster, details of the show are there. Then why do they fear? Why are they making all these noises or suppressing the truth? That is when we expected the rule of law to be upheld by whom? Judiciary, yaar. But what is judiciary doing? Is it coming to the rescue of commoners or the channel like us? Live example. Why they could not take it suo moto? We tag Supreme Court and Hyderabad High Court. But why even bar associations, Bar Council of India? Where are they? Same thing happened with the farmers. They were agitating during the first and second phase of pandemic, when people were dying. Panic and fear was created all around India and world. These farmers were there in and around Delhi. Supreme Court was, why did it take so much of time for Supreme Court to conduct a fair trial? But that is a blessing in disguise for people like us, channels like us. We are showing to the world why Supreme Court could not come to a judgment even in Corona case, when their live example of farmer strike was in front of them. How many did they die because of Corona? Was there any physical distance? Was there any masking? Was there any vaccination given in those areas? That is a simple, livable example for Supreme Court, for all the high courts. But still 15 months trial. Dosage after dosage vaccination. Why I am saying all this is people lost their employment, lost their jobs, children, precious 2 years of education. Many became sick because of fear, and you are not allowed them to come out to breathe fresh sun and light. And top of that, you have made life miserable by the price rise. All rise to pulses, high price rise. Supreme Court doesn't take cognizance of that. How should a common man survive? Supreme Court, high courts. And then all of a sudden, Without any discussion, they bring up amendment to Criminal Procedure 1920 Act, that also covered by Ravichandran-ji. Supreme Court, because it is nothing but infringement of personal liberty. Why is Supreme Court keeping quiet? No one understands. Justice delayed is equally justice denied. Likewise, I can go with innumerable examples. If government fails, all executive doesn't bother. Public people are suffering. Where should they go? Personal liberty, right to life. They come under the ambit of high courts, and subsequently Supreme Court has a larger area wherein it can take suo motu under various articles. I don't want to quote 326 and all that. In a layman's language, सुप्रीम कोर्ट हाई कोर्ट जब सरकार जन के रक्ष में, प्रजा के हित में, रक्ष में नहीं आते हैं, कोरोना हमारे एक बड़ी मिसाल हमारे सामने है, और जिस तरह किसान भाई आंदोलन किए हैं, 15 महीने लगे, आधार के साथ आपके सामने ही था, सुप्रीम कोर्ट किस तरह नज़रअंदाज करते हैं. इस तरह अगर कोर्ट्स नज़रअंदाज करते गए, जन रक्षण संविधान पर कौन करेगा? क्या लोग इसी तरह मजबूरन रोज का रोज ये सब लेते रहें जो गैर कानूनी हो, असंविधान हो? Should people suffer daily for want of any help from the government and executive and their pampered media creating fear in every aspect? I've given you just one example of farmer strike. Likewise, many price rise. Supreme Court doesn't bother. How will a common man survive? Transport very costly. Now electricity very costly. They don't want to divulge and get into such type of issues. Where should people go? If people try to protest, they have made an amendment. They are being arrested. Of late, there was a good order from Supreme Court regarding sedition and all. But how is that the voice of the people, the freedom of expression is being suppressed, courts keeping quiet? That is why this show is of paramount importance. And I'm going to, yes sir, you can go ahead. I'll share your PPT on screen. Are you able to watch it, sir? Your audio.
Yes, I am able to see it.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Dr. Reddy, and thank you once again for giving me the platform to talk, to express my views. This time, I'll be talking about our judiciary and judicial system as a whole. And at the outset, I would like to put out a disclaimer saying that there is no intention of committing contempt of court. But yes, if one goes through this discussion, then the viewer or the listener will know that the common citizen has contempt for the court. When you go out and talk about going to court or seeking legal remedies, even lawyers discourage you from going to the court because they say that justice will come after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. There is no point in doing it. So there's no point in wasting your time there. If this is the situation, then what is the common citizen going to do? I will be talking about how justice is withering and the judiciary, with deep regret, I have to say that it has withered. I had used this headlines in my blog spot about 4 or 5 years back. That time I was talking about withering judiciary. Now, after what has happened so far, there is very little evidence to show that any remedial steps have been taken. This PPT in the first slide Can you put on the first slide, please? I have borrowed from the Bhajagovindam of Shankaracharya. Bhajagovindam, 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 Bhajamudamate. Worship Govind, O you fool. For when the time of trial approaches, neither the law nor the lawyers will be able to protect you, because the goddess of justice eyes have been closed for different considerations. In our judicial system, the accused is presumed innocent till proven guilty. Now, what is the corollary of this? The corollary is the victim is lying, or there is no crime at all till the accused is proven guilty. In US courts, a preponderance of evidence proves the guilt. Both the defense as well as the prosecution have got the need to rush with the cases, because the accused is an accused till he is proven innocent. That means he has got a vested interest in seeing that the trial is completed in the shortest possible time. Can you go to the next slide, please? Now, before I go into all this, I would like to remind the viewers of one great leader from Tamil Nadu, Annadurai, Aringer Annadurai. And he talked about duty, integrity, and discipline. Kadamai, Kanniyam, Kattupadu. This is every individual should have that. Duty, integrity, and discipline. Now, the oath of lawyers in the office of peace, that is the original one in 1237, which was taken by all lawyers in England. The first line says that you shall do no falsehood, nor consent to any to be done in the office of peace. And if you find anything, you shall inform the Lord Chief Baron, who is the judge. And the fees, you should not take anything greater than what is the practice. And this is the duty, this is the oath that was taken by every lawyer. The significance of this lawyer oath is very simple. The lawyer is an officer of the state. He has got the same rights, powers, and duties as important as those of the judges. There is no difference between them. A lawyer is not the servant of the client. Here, people have forgotten that. Unfortunately, the lawyers have forgotten that. The lawyer is not the servant of the client. He is a servant of the court. This was told to me by a very old and experienced lawyer. He said, the job of the prosecutor is to present the evidence so that the magistrate can arrive at the truth. The job of the defense is to rip apart the evidence so that all the false evidence is thrown out and the actual evidence is presented to the court so that the magistrate can arrive at the truth. Or in other words, both the defense and the prosecutor had only one job. They had to ensure that the evidence was true, it was not fabricated, and it was as it should be. But today, what do we see? Even Supreme Court lawyers have been caught tampering the evidence. I don't have to remind the viewers about what happened in Admiral Nanda's son's case, where the evidence was sought to be tampered by the Defense Counsel. I am not taking names here, but he's a very senior and respected lawyer in the Supreme Court. And what was the punishment given to him? 6 months suspension. If a lawyer has got that, is the lawyer above the law? No matter who he is. So my question to the lawyers, if there are any on this listening to this, is simple. Are you aware of the oath that you have taken before you have started practicing law? Isn't this the essential of what you are doing? Isn't this the essential of your job or your profession? That you are to stand by truth and you have to uphold truth. In this instance, I remember one story which was told by that venerable gentleman. He talked about a very famous barrister in London who was very, very disciplined, who had a highest sense of integrity and was duty conscious. Now, when he was approached by a murderer, to represent him, he went and talked to the murderer, where the murderer confessed to him that he had committed the murder. Now, this lawyer, he had his own qualms about taking the case, so he approached the judge and he told him, "Sir, the murderer has confessed to the crime. Should I take his case?" Then the judge said, "Look, as a lawyer, you cannot deny any brief. You cannot deny any case. You have to take the case. You argue the case in the manner in which justice is given to everybody." Now, after saying this, the judge recused himself because he said that, "Now, since you have confessed to me that you know that the murderer is the one guilty, I cannot take this case because it will be a conflict of interest law." And he stepped down from that chair. Now, this lawyer, this great barrister, took that case, he argued the case, and he argued the case with so much of what I should say, so beautifully, that the magistrate was about to acquit that murderer. But before completing his presentation, the lawyer went round and said to the magistrate, "Your Honor, I have argued for my client and I have set forward some mitigating factors which should help you in giving him a lesser punishment." The magistrate was surprised. He said, till now, you have argued. Yeah, Dr. Reddy, you are talking?
No, 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 no. It's WhatsApp this thing. 1 second. I'll just try to remove that.
No problem. I'll continue.
Yeah, continue because I just try to remove that.
Uh, so, magistrate said, "I'm surprised because by your argument I was about to acquit him. Now you come forward and say that you have given mitigating factors so that the punishment should be lessened. Are you saying that your murderer is guilty? That is, your client is guilty?" Then that lawyer said, "Sir, I have argued the case on behalf of my client because I have taken his brief. And I have put forward the mitigating factors which will help. With that, my job to my client is over. But there is a job to the victim also, because I know for certain that he was murdered by my client. And I cannot conceal that fact. That is why I ask for a lesser punishment." See, how many lawyers will be prepared to tell these facts in court? That was the summit of his profession. Okay? Our lawyers do it. That I leave it to the lawyers to decide. Can we go to the next slide?
Yeah, hoping that lawyers will.
Now, corn cannot find justice in a court of chickens. If there is a court of chickens, corn cannot find any justice because the chickens will eat them. This is an African proverb. Similarly, a victim can just get justice in a court where every accused is presumed innocent till proven guilty. Now, there is no compulsion for the accused to cooperate with the prosecution to prove his innocence, whereas there is every incentive to him to procrastinate. That is why we have so much of adjournments going day after day after day after day. I remember some of cases like the Kumbakonam fire case, where it was proven that because of improper construction, uh, uh, 50 to 60 children were burnt alive in a school. The owner of the school was arrested. He was sentenced in the lower courts, but the Supreme Court acquitted him after 15 years.
Goodness.
Now, where is the justice in that? In 1997, Upahar fire happened. The final judgment came in 2020.
My God.
23 years after the incident happened. 23 years after the incident happened, the judgment came.
My God.
54 people died there. A man is convicted and sentenced to death for the brutal rape and murder of a 4-year-old girl. Supreme Court says that every sinner has a future, so we will reduce his term from life imprisonment to 20 years, and with the good period given to every convict, probably he'll be released in another 14 or 15 years so that he can continue raping other children also. What happened to the rights of the victim? What sort of justice will the victim get? In another case, Vishnu Tiwari, he was convicted of rape and murder, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment. After serving 20 years, when he was supposed to have been released in 14 years for good behavior, nothing happened, and after 20 years he petitioned the court to retry his case, and they found that he has been wrongly convicted.
My goodness.
Or in other words, he has spent 20 years in jail for no crime at all. So what happened? That nobody can be presumed innocent, no accused can be presumed innocent till proven guilty. In this case, what was his guilt? 20 years later, you come around and say that he's an innocent man. Then you punish him for 20 years. What is the compensation that he can claim? Nothing. Zero. 20 years gone behind bars for no crime at all. There's no accountability. Neither with the persons who investigated it, nor with the prosecutor who did the prosecution, nor with his defense lawyer, nor with the judge who measured the evidence and sentenced him to life imprisonment. What is the justice that we are talking about? Where is the justice?
All those part of the case should be they should go for trial, and from their own earnings or property, the compensation should be made along with government compensation also.
Can you put on the next slide, please? There is nobody gets justice here. There is only good luck or bad luck. What happened in the case of the Ubahar cinema case? The case was completed after 23 years. Evidence was tampered. Evidence was destroyed. And the two persons who were responsible for that fire, Sushil and Gopal Ansal, they were convicted in the Upahar case. And what was the conviction? In the case of Gopal, in the case of Sushil, it was actually they were convicted for 2 years. Supreme Court reduced it to 1 year and told Gopal that since you are aged beyond 70 and you have got medical problems, we are releasing you and he has served just 5.5 months in jail. And the other gentleman, he was sentenced to same 2 years, reduced to 1 year, and since he has already done 6 months, he was released in another 2-3 months because of good behavior, etc., etc. 54 people died in that accident, and what was the penalty? 5.5 months, 6 months in prison, plus 30 crores as compensation. 30 crores to be distributed among 54 people, 54 families, and not even that. It was said to give it to a trust to start some medical trust or something like that. Where is the justice? Where is justice in this Upahar murder, Upahar's fire case? Were the people who are supposed to give the license to the cinema see that there was proper fire escapes, see that there was proper fire equipment inside the cinema, see that the electricity was okay? None of the government servants were punished or held accountable for this. That Neelam Krishnamurthy or somebody, AVUT, that is, they had formed an association of Upahar Cinema Association victims of the Upahar Cinema. When this judgment was produced, she was weeping on television. She said, "What about my 2 children? They got burnt alive because of these people's negligence, because of these people's greed. And the court, I depended fully on the court, and the court has let me down." And this after 23 years after the incident. And in the rape and murder case that I had quoted earlier, where the Supreme Court judge very grandly said that every sinner has a future. Did the judge or the judgment, whoever wrote the judgment, realize that every sinner has a future is a wrong quotation, given in the wrong context? It is an insult to the victim. By giving this quote, the judge has insulted the victim. Because, let me tell you the background of this phrase that the judge used: every sinner has a future, every saint has a past, every sinner has a future. These lines were taken from Oscar Wilde's play, Women of No Importance. The title of the play itself is a Woman of No Importance. In that, there is one Lord Illingworth, and this man molested the girl, and the girl becomes pregnant. When the girl becomes pregnant, Lord Illingworth abandons her. And I'm talking about a Victorian England, where a person who gives birth to a baby outside marriage is condemned by society. And this Lord Illingworth abandons that girl. Later on, when that baby becomes a big man, he doesn't know who his father is. That time, Lord Illingworth comes across that boy, and he takes a liking for him, and he appoints him as his secretary, because this man was going to become a diplomat. At that time, that boy's mother, she comes and tells him, "Boy, this Lord Illingworth is the person, is your father, and he had abandoned me when I was young." That boy gets very angry, and he decides not to go with Lord Illingworth. It is in that context, Lord Illingworth offers marriage to this woman at that point of time because he needs the boy's help. And the lady says, "No, I have lived without you for so long, I was able to bring up my son. Now I don't want your title, I don't want your name, I don't want your money also." And she rejects him. It is at this point, Lord Illingworth says to another friend who says that girl has rejected you, he says, don't mind. She is a woman of no importance. Because every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. So, in other words, if you sin, you have got a future. You have got a very bright future. Now, this man who has raped and killed a 4-year-old girl, the case was proved conclusively. It was proved beyond reasonable doubt that this man had brutally raped that 4-year-old girl, smothered her, and let her die in the field because of this injuries that he had inflicted upon her. That poor girl had suffered the entire night before she was taken to the hospital and treated, and she did not recover, she died. And this sort of man has been sentenced to life imprisonment by the lower courts, but the Supreme Court says that he can be reformed. What sort of reformation can the Supreme Court do? Is reformation the job of the Supreme Court? Isn't it the job of the prison wardens and all those people? Even before seeing them, even before sentencing, going to jail, you are saying that he is going to be reformed. Is this the way that law is to be dispensed? And if every sinner has got a future, then why do we have penal provisions at all? Why do you want to sentence anybody to death? Today, even Afzal Kasab had a future. So why did you hang him? Every terrorist has got a future, so why hang them? When you let your heart decide on the cases, then I only thing that I can say is it is not justice. It is not justice to the victim. Next slide.
Yeah, here I would like to add two things. Here also in Warangal, a small girl, similar 4 years old, she was raped and fast track court sentenced, ordered death penalty. Believe me, High Court of Telangana changed it into lifetime imprisonment. Like there's many such. There was another victim in Adilabad, and then same like Nirbhaya, like famous case also happened. A veterinary doctor. I don't want to, but there the police took into their this thing and they have killed them. That is also an extreme. The other side, instant justice. Why this thing? If instant justice, if police start shooting, is it because of lack of faith in our judicial system and judiciary? The same thing happened in Warangal. Acid attack
The
case.
same thing happened in Kolkata also.
Acid attack, the same officer was involved twice, there in Warangal and here in Cyberabad. Now they are all facing the heat from the Supreme Court appointed committees. But what were the courts doing when the trial happened? That's $1 million question. What's it? That's what I'm trying to take. If yeah,
No, please go on.
no, if the law enforcing agencies, if they take everything into their hand, law into their hand, then what will happen to the justice system or trial in the courts? And what should happen to the commoner? And what about the victims? These are all, mind-boggling issues. That's why I was giving you the examples of Corona case, 15 months trial. What is there? Every evidence was there. Can't they just understand? Did the coronavirus was isolated or not? Then what does the symptoms contain? And what is the treatment? What does the medicines contain? Whether the medicines, what is the content of the medicines? Is it applicable scientifically and legally? They could not understand the contents of the medicine remdesivir nor the vaccines till this day, but they are going on trial. And that the Nizamabad case, a PJ died. Why she died? That too during when she was in when she was in duty, the government hospital. The parents were on the record stating that someone called from the hospital and she met with an accident. That they were surprised. 12 o'clock she spoke, and she was on duty. And how is that she went out? See, how can courts be so naive, and why? Because instant justice doesn't mean that there should not be proper trial. Yes, evidence based trial should be there, and even the law enforcing agencies at times found to be wanting. As you rightly said, either tampering or overbearing or not allowing the case to go for trial mode. So here, there also, people are losing their faith in both law enforcing agencies and justice system, courts. आम नागरिक जब पुलिस द्वारा जो भी करनी चाहिए कानूनी के तौर पर, अगर वहाँ पर देर हो रही या जानबूझकर वहाँ आधार को ख़त्म किया जा रहा ताकि वो कोर्ट में ना जाए, ना कोर्ट में विचारण हो, वहाँ कोर्ट का कोई ऑर्डर हो. और ऐसे भी है कई केसेस, ऑफिसर्स अच्छे जानबीन करके कोर्ट को सौंपने के बाद भी वहाँ पर भी ज़्यादा देर हो गई कोर्ट में, न्यायालय में. इस तरह जो भी कोर्ट जा रहा, जो भी पुलिस स्टेशन जा रहा, इनको इस तरह की एक भावना आ गई है. ये बहुत खतरनाक है. यस सर.
No, you have talked about the victim going to court or the victim's relations going to court. What sort of justice? See, in the Rajiv Gandhi murder case, 3 people were convicted and sentenced to death. The death sentence was not carried out. And after almost about 20 years, the victims, daughter and son, actually Priyanka Vadala, went to the jail, met Nalini, and she came out and said that I forgive them. The death sentence was commuted
Yep.
to life imprisonment. Now, one of the convicts has been released
Yes.
on bail, and the Supreme Court says that he has served 30 years, so he should be released. But the question is, along with Rajiv Gandhi, there were 14 other people who were killed.
That's what on the duty that day.
Doesn't their family deserve any consideration? Were they compensated in any way? And what about those? In fact, one of the police women, she has got about 23 bullet pieces, fragments inside her body, and she is suffering because of that.
No one talks about that. High profile political case, only one family. Unfortunate, the nation lost a good leader. But what about the other victims? Because in law, every citizen is equal before the law. There should not be any distinguish. They should not try to distinguish between haves and have nots. Am I right, sir?
Yeah. Now, where is the justice here? If you give a sentence a person to death or to life imprisonment, all that I am saying is the punishment should be definite. The punishment should be sure, and the punishment should be swift. Only then there will be a deterrence. You cannot condemn a person to die by hanging and allow him to die by old age. Then it doesn't make any sense at all. There is no deterrence at all. And that is the reason why today we are seeing a fire in Munka office where 27 people died. If the Supreme Court had given a punishment, a strict punishment within 2 or 3 years after the incident, and if they had held the government officers accountable for their actions at that same period, these 27 people wouldn't have died. Everyone would have a fear. It is something like this. I was talking to a lawyer today, and he said it is very simple. Today, if you don't wear a helmet and go on a motorcycle and you meet with an accident, All that the law should say is, since you violated the laws and did not wear a helmet, you will not get any insurance money. You will not be compensated for your loss. If you do that, then tomorrow everybody will start wearing helmet. That is how a law should be. You can't, a person violates a law without wearing helmet, he dies. And when he dies, you give him a compensation, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, insurance money, this thing, that thing. Then where is the incentive to wear the helmet? A person drinks illicit liquor and he dies. You compensate him, compensate his family. So who is going to stop them from drinking illicit liquor? Where is the justice here? See, basically the problem is only this. The system is not working as it was envisaged to work. Somewhere down the line, we have deviated from that. And what sort of justice is? It's a very regrettable fact. 400 families control the Supreme Court. Do you know that?
That's what I came to know after you announced the show.
One community has more than 70% representation of the court. And this is the community which makes the collegium, selects the judges, where is the incentive, and the entire thing is opaque. Entire selection process is opaque. Nobody knows how a judge is selected till his name comes out. Or just to give you a small example, sometime back, Allahabad High Court forwarded 30 names. Out of 30 names, 1/3 of them belong to one community.
Goodness.
1/3 of them were not even qualified to be called a judge. And 1/3 of them were all relations of the judges and lawyers in that court.
Nepotism, favoritism.
Yes. Now, the slide that you are seeing now, this is a excerpt from a high court. People tell me that my way of writing is very obtuse, that I use very high words. Now just go through this judgment. I just read it out to you. However, the learned counsel cannot derive the fullest succor from the aforesaid acquiescence, given its sinew suffering partial dissipation from an imminent display occurring in the impunged pronouncement hereat, where within unravelments are held for the repetition recorded by the learned rent controller. Can you make any sense of it? I doubt even if a Supreme Court judge will not make sense of it, because this judgment, when it came to the Supreme Court, it was returned to the High Court asking them to dilute the language, because nobody was able to understand what it was. When a Supreme Court judge is not able to understand the judgment, how do they expect a common man to understand what they write? Is this the standard of justice? Is this the standard of judges that we have? Why do we have judges? Is it because they have to show off their language skills and all that? Or is it to dispense justice? Even Shashi Tharoor, even Dr. Shashi Tharoor will not understand this.
I'm sure. I'm sure. This jargon is totally unacceptable, and my goodness.
Now, to use the judge's own language, I will call this gobbledygook.
Maybe Shashi Tharoor's language, with due respects to him.
And 450 pages, 500 pages in a judgment. Article 377 about consensual sex between 3 adults takes a 450-page judgment. In the US Supreme Court, till 2016, they were giving 2,000 words judgment, probably around 5 or 6 pages judgment. Now it has come to 8,000 words or about 15 pages, and people have started complaining. They have said that where is the time to go through all this judgment? In United Kingdom, it is 30 to 40 pages at the most. At the most. And here we have got judgments running into 450, 500 pages.
Like a book.
Problem is,
It's like a book.
it is a book. And when 6 judges or a bench gives a concurring judgment, every judge gives a 450 page judgment.
Making a.
And the entire problem is when you go through 6 into 4, around 2,400, 500 pages of judgment, and you see that, because I did it in one case.
Uh-huh. For appeal.
I went through 6 judgments of 6 different judges on that bench.
Okay.
And after going through the individual judgments, I found that every judgment was the same.
Maybe jargon.
Except for a few
Jargon. The
sentences.
jargon is different.
No, jargon is also same, except for a few sentences here and there. That's all.
Oh, that's interesting.
The same conclusion, the same analysis, the same. But each judge wants to put his imprint, so 450 pages into 6. Where is the sense? No, my problem is, this is one of the reasons why cases take so much time. Now, if the Chief Justice of India complains that there is a backlog of cases, first he should look into his own court. If you are going to write a 450 page judgment and going to read it out in court, it will take at least 3 days to
Yeah.
read it out.
One case.
And to write it, we are in a digital age today. So why can't they do a live streaming of every case?
That's what you need. It will be accountable. Very
You-
transparent.
To record every argument, every counsel's argument in your judgment. It is live. It is a recording. Anybody can handle it.
I know.
Now, the beauty of this entire thing is, in this 377, Article 377 judgment, which was taking about 450 pages or something like that, it was about consensual sex act between 3 adults.
Okay.
So, if I want to know whether consensual act between two adults is it legal or not, I have to go through the entire 450 pages. Now, just imagine if a lawyer is going to quote from this judgment, the poor judge will have to read through 450 pages to find out whether it is correct or not. And how many judgments get to read?
I
Now
know.
you understand why it takes so much time.
I know.
See, be knowledgeable, they will judge according to law.
Yes. With due respects to them, we have
The
to.
honest, they will do it according to the truth. The man who doesn't have the knowledge or the truth, he will obfuscate and use jargon to confuse people,
Yeah.
to confuse his incompetence. There is a beautiful English word which describes it in one word. It is called discombobulate. If I use this, it is also a jargon. Very few people will understand it.
What does it
The
mean?
word is discombobulate.
What is that? Can you spell it out again?
Discom, D-I-S-C-O-M,
Yep.
bobulate, B-O-B-U-L-A-T-E,
Bob, oh, discombobulate.
discombobulate,
What does that mean?
which means, it means that you are confusing people, that's all.
Same thing happened because of those judgments, those twin blasts in Hyderabad, Gokul Chat, and then here in Dilsukh Nagar, and then Lumini Park. After the judgment, I find innocent young engineers, they are left to defend themselves. Their families are literally on the roads. They're incapacitated. Government doesn't take care of them. Courts silent. No one bothers. No one bothers. Every time that anniversary, the same families come onto the road. They are shown on the media. See media also after that hype. They forget. Similar. This is what I tell you. Just confuse. Because you are not delivering that able judgment which should be implemented by the government till they recover or till justice is done. Supreme Court, so many judgments in case of environment and all, they pass judgment, there is no authority to implement. Neither Cabinet Secretary, Union Government or Chief Secretary of the State, they don't bother. So many contempt cases of Chief Secretary of Telangana, can you believe? And again, public money is used. This High Court doesn't go beyond that. Then I don't know.
What? What is it? Can you go to the next slide, please?
Yep. I don't know why justice.
Now, any law, the Supreme Court has to give the interpretation of the law. Now, there is a law under 65B. This is under the Evidence Act.
Okay.
65B under the Evidence Act says that any digital evidence which is produced in court has to be certified, and that once that certificate is given, then that digital evidence can be considered as evidence. In 2014, three judge bench of the Supreme Court said that 65B certificate for digital evidence is essential, and they gave 5 points under that which has to be complied with to make that certificate legal. In 2018, a two-bench Supreme Court overruled the earlier judgment and said that 65B certificate is just a matter of procedure, it is not the law. Therefore, it is not essential. In 2020, another three-bench Supreme Court comes around and says that 65B certificate is essential. It is the law. Now, in a matter of just 6 years, there have been 3 interpretations to the same law by 3 different benches. Now, what is a policeman supposed to do? Should he be taking 65B certificate or should he abandon it? And if he doesn't take it, his case is gone. Now, there have been cases between 2018 and 2020 where people have been convicted because only the digital 65B statement was not produced and the digital evidence was taken into account and they were convicted. Now, whether it is right or wrong, that has to come later, because digital evidence can also be fabricated. We don't know whether the people were convicted because of fabricated digital evidence, because there is no certificate. And 2018, between 2018 and 2020, this was the case. Between 2014 and 2018, where certificates were essential, a lot of digital evidence was not taken into account because certificate was not available. Now, if they had come to 2018 or filed a case after 2018, they would have got conviction.
Yeah. For no fault of theirs.
So those who have been convicted because of lack of certificate, now they can go on appeal. This only increases the number of cases in the court. Why is the Chief Justice of India not taking cognizance of this? That wrong interpretation, that is contradictory interpretation of the law by Supreme Court judges create a lot of confusion in the minds of the police. How are they supposed to collect evidence? How are they supposed to present this evidence in court? How are the prosecutors going to argue it in court? And is that wording of the law so complicated that benches of Supreme Court are not able to come to a collective conclusion? Yes, this is the law, this is how it has to be interpreted. Or is it that every judge has got his own way of interpretation? Today I interpret a law in one particular manner, tomorrow another judge comes and says, no, no, that interpretation is wrong, this is correct. Then what happens to the law? If there is no consensus on how a law is to be interpreted, how are you going to administer that law? And why should these judges come out and talk about justice and all that on public platforms? And why should they point fingers at the other pillars of democracy, like the government, like the media, like the legislature, and point out that you are not doing your job, you are not doing your job? What about their job? Are they doing their job? Next slide, please.
Yeah, here let me add, even the Chief Justice, when he was in Hyderabad, after his swearing in, he did comment. He said, police stations are the worst human rights violations. It's a big statement he made. But after that, so many cases were against journalists and the farmers when they were agitating. What happened? The police were barbing and everything. Supreme Court kept silent. Now even the corona COVID cases you see masking and all, it is totally inhuman. Supreme Court, is it their convenience? For their convenience they make those statements. Why is it not universal? That's what confuses people. Am I right?
Yeah, there is no consensus on how to be interpreting it. Now, justice is one thing, judgment is different. When is justice rendered? It is only when the victim's anger, when the victim's pain is ameliorated, is satisfied. That is what is justice. Are we giving justice on that basis? And the law is only a guideline. It is only pointing to the path which the judge should take in deciding whether a case is legal or illegal. And what is the maximum compensation that a victim deserves and can get. It is restricted to that. If it goes beyond that, then there is no justice. Fabricated and tampered witness, I have talked about this. Tutored witnesses, I have talked about it. Lack of understanding of the law. They do not lend to good judgments. Somebody should tell the Supreme Court people also. Somebody should tell the Judiciary also. And if the judge says that 100 criminals can go free to ensure that one innocent is not punished, it means that 100 victims will also not get any justice. Is this the way justice is to be given? And when you say so grandly that one innocent is not punished, let us talk about Vignesh Tiwari. What happened? He was an innocent, he was punished. What about the 54 victims of Upahar? What crime did they commit? That they are accused went free after 5.5 months. What happened to the children who were burnt alive in Kumbakonam fire accident? Those people went free. What crime did the children do? And babies, LKG, UKG, pre-primary school children, they were burnt alive. And they were burnt alive in front of their parents. And their parents were not able to help because these people had locked up the classrooms. And they were acquitted. What is justice? What is judgment? Our Kap Panchayats give better judgments. That is why people go to the Panchayat or Kata Panchayat. As in Tamil Nadu, they say Kata Panchayat. At least there is something tangible. I don't have to wait 30 years to find out whether I get justice or not. Either I get it or I don't get it, and that is over within a matter of 6 months or 1 year. And celebrities. Today, Prana Ayub, who has swindled people for more than 2 crores, 3 crores, and the judge says, oh, it is only 2-3 crores, so she can go abroad. Isn't it incumbent on the judge to say, okay, She has swindled 2 to 3 crores. You say that she has swindled 3 crores. Bring her. Let us conduct the trial. Find out what is the truth. If she is innocent, let her go. If she is convicted, let her stay. Don't allow her to go. That is the way justice should be given. You can't say, oh, it is only 2, 3 crores. Ask Rana Ayub to go to America to give a speech. What about the victims who lost 2 to 3 crores? No justice for them? It is absurd. When that film actor Sanjay
Sanjay Dutt.
Sanjay Dutt, he was convicted for Arms Act, under Arms Act, and sentenced to 5 years imprisonment. Even judges came out and said, I am quoting Markandeya Kaju, who was a Chief Justice. Retired Chief Justice comes out and says, he has got 300 crores of films to be completed, so let him go on parole. Pardon him. So it is a matter of 300 crores. It is not a question of so many people losing their lives because of this man's activities.
Mumbai blast.
What happened to the 7 people, platform people who were sleeping on the platform and were run over by Salman Khan's car? Morning he was convicted, afternoon he was given bail, and the case is just like that, closed. The judge says nobody was driving the car. What justice are we talking about? Is there one, should I say that judges, lawyers, what about politicians? Lalu Prasad Yadav has been convicted in the water scam. Where is he spending time in jail? Whenever he comes on news channels, he is sitting in a resort, hospital resort. So politicians, lawyers, judges, none of these people they are all above the law. High net worth individuals, they are all above the law. And what about the lakhs of under trial prisoners? Why is no judge taking any interest in their life? They have spent more time in the jail than even their crime warrants, assuming that they have committed the crime.
सड़ रहे हैं लोग जेलों में. लोग सड़ रहे हैं जेलों में. Yeah.
Spends 3 years in jail when the actual penalty is just 6 months. Next slide, please.
That's what they are सड़ रहे हैं सर. काफी लोग जेल में सड़ रहे हैं. उनको कोर्ट नहीं ले जाया जाता है. And बात बाहर नहीं कर सकते लोग. They don't have a reach. And they are literally dying in jails. And what about that famous ISRO case? I think the gentleman had died.
Yeah.
What happened to that case?
Nambiyar.
Yeah. Precious.
He is still waiting. He is still waiting for justice.
See.
And what is the loss to the country? What is the loss to the country? And what about those police officers who had arrested him in the first instances and fabricated the evidence? What happened to them? They went on to become DGPs and DGs, and they have retired with fat pensions. Where is justice? Justice is dead. Now, in a recent meeting with when the Prime Minister, the Chief Justice of India, and I think one other dignitary was present, the Chief Justice said, Constitution provides for separation of powers and one should be mindful of the Lakshman Rekha. Who is to lay down the Lakshman Rekha? When the Corona second pandemic was at its height, the Supreme Court of India was holding regular meetings on the availability of oxygen in Delhi. And they were telling the center, you please report to the Supreme Court every day of how many tons of oxygen you are giving to the city, which hospital you are delivering, how you are delivering. Is this the job of the Supreme Court? To monitor oxygen supply? And they were insisting 700 tons of oxygen is to be given to Delhi alone because Delhi government has asked for it. Government was saying Delhi requirement is only 300, 400 tons. We can supply that. They were overruled by the Supreme Court who said that 700 tons should be supplied.
Maybe all
Are they
VV,
doctors?
maybe all VVIPs are there in Delhi, including the Supreme Court.
Huh? No. So that means other people who are not residing in Delhi are lesser mortals.
That's what. Such discrimination by Supreme Court.
Where did the 700 tons of oxygen come from? It came from other cities at the cost of other people in other cities. Is it Supreme Court of India or Supreme Court of Delhi? And when the Chief Justice of India says separation of power, then what was the Supreme Court doing? Monitoring and instructing central government on how to supply the oxygen, which transporter to use. Haven't they crossed that Lakshman Rekha at that point of time? When the Supreme Court sat down and ran BCCI, Board of Cricket Control of India was run by the Supreme Court for some time.
Yes, ridiculously.
Was it their job? And how much time was taken for setting like that at the cost of other cases? Didn't the judges think about Lakshman Rekha then? Physician, heal thyself. When a physician, as a doctor, with due respect to you, Dr. Reddy, if you are smoking a cigarette, you can't advise a patient not to smoke.
Yes.
First, you have to correct yourself. Only then you can advise the patient what to do and what not to do. Do the Supreme Courts have that? Do they have that within them? Next slide, please.
Not only that, not only that, here, the another interesting aspect is many people died by releasing the videos during first and second case of Corona, COVID-19. Am I right? There are many innumerable.
Yeah.
Is it not their last wish? But why did not High Court or Supreme Court have taken them as suo motu and went for trial? Even now, after effects, so many parents come out and they are being booked by the state governments through police, and media doesn't even present that. Media only one headliner. Is Supreme Court not aware of that? And how is that Supreme Court doesn't understand that they should do trial based on the contents of the medicine, whether these contents of the medicine suffice the treatment or prevention? And what is there in coronavirus? Did they ever ask for such paper, or did they appoint any committee? This is life example, because it concerns with life. Daily you live in fear. And did Supreme Court understand that there is nothing, lakhs of people participate in the rally, now IPL, thousands of people go there, cinemas see, new releases are happening, nothing happens anywhere. But the same jargon you find everywhere. Wear your mask, physical distance, get your vaccine done. Is Supreme Court not aware of this, that they should go away? And is it waiting for the wave to come? Then how does Supreme Court interpret its own?
They interpreted today, they reinterpreted tomorrow, and they contradict themselves on the third day.
That beats my intelligence.
Okay, can you go to the next slide, please?
Yeah.
This is not my word. Other judges and other lawyers. This was told by the Supreme Court judge himself. We are getting a lot of complaints from certain judges of the Allahabad High Court relating to their integrity. Some judges have their kith and kin practicing in the same court, and within a few years of starting practice, the sons or relations of the judge become multimillionaires, have huge bank balances, luxurious cars, huge houses, and are enjoying a luxurious life. is not my words. It is Markandeya Kattu's former Chief Justice of India. And this he told it in reference to one case in Allahabad High Court where a judge was a relation of the lawyer who was arguing the case in his. What justice can be expected? Our famous mystic yogi of national security scam. He is out on bail for 22 times.
Okay.
22 times the court has given him anticipatory bail. I think that is a record for this judicial system. And the pity of it, a man who has been accused in a criminal case and has spent time in Tihar jail before coming out on bail, he represents clients in court arguing for them because he's a lawyer. What happened to ethics? What happened to professionalism? How can a lawyer who himself is an accused in a criminal case, who has spent time in jail and is out on bail, how can he come to the court and argue a case? How can he be permitted to argue a case?
To still prove no one is guilty.
What is this, a republic or a banana republic? And has the situation changed? It has not. This is the way justice is dispensed in this country. Next slide, please.
Here they have accused there was a slide going on conflict of interest in regards to vaccine manufacturing company in Supreme Court. But they have not reclused themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know
They
what
have
happened.
not recused themselves.
They have not reclused, nor there is any action by the government, nor even they have submitted a petition to the President of India. Neither Parliament discusses, Assembly discusses, nor President orders any inquiry. Conflict of interest in Supreme Court judges, big video, and that is why they said they don't want to do trial in the name of vaccines. What does it contain? Cow blood, they said. Chimpanzee cells, they said. Dead fetal cells, alumina, graphene oxide, such dangerous things. They said because of conflict of interest of the judges, the trial doesn't go. They want to create the fear psychosis. That's why they said the mandates everywhere you go, the same mask mandate, without mask no entry, physical distance, go for vaccines. The same thing is there when there is no corona at all now. How can Supreme Court be so naive to these things? We don't understand. Yes, sir. I'm going to the next one.
Next one. Silence in the face of injustice is complicity with the oppressor. This is why Dr. Reddy and I are talking. Because we don't want to be complicit in this face of injustice.
Yes. Well said.
This is the fundamental, this is the platform where we can talk.
Yes.
I cannot come to Supreme Court from Coimbatore. I can't afford it. You just imagine any litigant traveling all the way from Kanyakumari to Supreme Court in Delhi, comes to Supreme Court and the judge says adjourned for the next week.
Many things happen.
He is adjourned for the next week. Then he has to come down all the way to Kanyakumari, then go back the next week. How much money it will cost him? No, sir. Justice is only for the rich, not for the poor.
And the traveling
Justice is
time.
only for
And the traveling
for
time.
the-
Not only expenditure, traveling
But-
time, physical debility. He has to move away with the family.
Ah.
And how safe and secure he will be.
He'll be. And what about the expenses?
Too much.
Lawyers don't, Supreme Court lawyers don't come cheap.
Our own journalist case is going on for years, believe me, in Supreme Court. They don't understand. Years. Many have died, my seniors, many have died in our housing case. Journalist housing case in Supreme Court.
What prevents the Supreme Court from setting up a regional bench?
That's what
in
we have.
Hyderabad?
Fazal Commission.
Bangalore.
No, the Fazal Commission was. No, the Fazal Ali Commission was very clear. all this constitution, except constitutional bench you keep in Delhi. Next, whether it is civil or crime, Supreme Court benches should be set up in all the 4 regions, so that it will convenience people. If High Court doesn't come to the rescue, if politicians and administrators become one through their media, at least people can vouch to go to those benches in that areas, full-fledged civil and crime, and need be even constitutional bench also, east, west, north and south, because north anyhow you have a Supreme Court there sitting. Why don't you have some bench in south, whether in Hyderabad, Tamil Nadu, Chennai, or Kerala, or Karnataka, or Puducherry? And similarly, Mumbai or anywhere, western part of the world, or eastern Kolkata, or anywhere, northeastern regions. And not only just Supreme Court, we want all constitutional bodies like CBI, because which go with all these investigating agencies. Whether it is CBI, CAG, or all constitutional bodies should be there in each and every part of the India, 4 regions. Why should they all go to concentrated power in Delhi itself? Why should I travel to Delhi, sir? It should be my convenience. Am I right or no? Constitutional bodies, because I am a constitution myself, we ourselves are a constitution by ourselves, every citizen, the constitution should provide that leeway to me. Why should I be dictated by servants? They are all public servants. Why should I be dictated by them? That example, 700 tons of oxygen only for Delhi. Is it just because of that? Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
There is another thing also. If you set up regional benches, see, in the Mofussil courts and in the local courts, there are a lot of bright lawyers, very, very learned lawyers, bright lawyers. These lawyers do not get a chance to show their skill, legal skills in a Supreme Court. How many Mofussil court judges or lawyers have been promoted to the Supreme Court? Nobody. Like I said earlier, the entire Supreme Court Collegium is controlled by 400 people, 400 families.
That's
Which
really.
means that nobody from the Mofussil court can come. There are so many bright lawyers, intelligent lawyers, well erudite lawyers. They have got a lot of practice behind them. And if you are going to appoint, recently it was said that fresh graduates will be appointed as judges. What majority will they have? I'm sorry, sir. Justice in our country was famous for justice. We had Manunidhi Soran. We had Maryada Raman. We had a lot of good judges, even in recent times. And we are suffering for lack of justice. Now, this talk that I am giving is just to hold up a mirror to show the judges what they are. If they see into the mirror and they see the problems, and if they are able to correct it, then it is good for the country, it is good for the citizens of this country. Otherwise, I am scared to say it, we will also become an anarchy, where might is right. Do we want to go to that position? Thank you, Dr. Reddy.
Wonderful
I have taken a
presentation.
lot of your time.
No, not at all. This is the need of the hour. Believe me, justice delayed is justice denied, and at the same time, क्योंकि जब न्याय उच्चतम न्यायालय या कोई भी हो कोर्ट से न्यायालय से अगर आपको सही तरीके से विचारण ना हो या देरी हो तो आपको न्याय नहीं हुआ जैसा ही है. So it has to be very, very clear, and because as you rightly said, we don't want to be part of someone where they don't say anything. We are active, and this is our right to see that justice is done. And as the main demand of this show is very clear, that after this show, from every part of the country, there should be a demand that all regional, whether it is Western India, Southern India, Northern India, you have there everywhere we should have these courts, civil and crime. Constitutional bench, if you want to keep it in Delhi, you keep it. But everywhere we should have Supreme Court benches which deals with civil and crime, and for that matter, even if the need be, we should have the constitutional bench also. Why should I travel all the way? Why monopoly only for Delhiites? Very few from southern region or eastern region or western region can go and practice in Delhi. Otherwise, as you rightly said, because of Corona, God given, if everything becomes online, whether you do it online or in physical presence in Delhi, that also will ameliorate our sufferings. Am I right, sir?
Yeah, right.
Supreme Court,
Let them do it. Let them do it. It is within their powers.
yeah. Why should I always go to Delhi? If I have the technology, wherewithal, and if you trust the technology, why not we discuss the cases, trial from Madras or Hyderabad, Kochi, Bengaluru, Puducherry? Why not? Why should I go to Delhi? Or else Supreme Court should set up benches. High time now. In every region, southern region, western region and eastern region, all civil and criminal cases should be there. This should be decentralization, because justice delayed is justice denied, and only rich can afford to go to Delhi. And every time you go to Delhi, because of paucity of time or cases, if the case gets adjourned, just imagine one traveling from Kanyakumari to Delhi. Every week if he has to go and come back, is this what justice system are all about? That is why we said justice and judiciary, it should be in the common man's interest. When the deliverables are simple and in the ambit of commoner, then justice is done. Otherwise, people will start losing faith, and this will become, as he has pointed out, the famous Salman Khan's episode and all sorts of how the cases can be. We are not saying the Kudzu chief CJI, he has clearly pointed out the favoritism and nepotism in Allahabad High Courts. If only those families, from those families are politically motivated, favoritism happens to control their political system, their mindset, as we have seen in Andhra Pradesh and everywhere, then is it justice? And how can a justice be? See, you have seen in Mumbai, if you are close to power echelons, midnight also Supreme Court will hear your case. Does it hear a common man like us? Will Supreme Court?
No, it doesn't.
Is this not discrimination then? Is it not against the basic structure of the Constitution? How can Supreme Court or High Courts be only for those who can afford, or only for those who are close to the political echelons, or who are close to the families? Or how is that this courts doesn't function in a similar way when it comes to commoner? How many people are there lying in the jails? And how many people have been convicted for wrong reasons? Is there no accountability and transparency here? Why not those indulged, right from those who present the case to the court and who do trial? Why they are not made accountable? Why this innocent should not be compensated and rule of law is applicable to them? How are they above the law? Only then this judiciary and justice system will prevail, so that every Indian citizen is not discriminated. The justice is done, and that too it should be very swiftly, it should be done. And the collegium should not be an opaque one. It should be very transparent. Who is being appointed and why is being appointed, under what provisions. Every state, and for that matter it should start from the panchayat level, because panchayats are the ones which control the Indian economy. We are agriculture based country. Panchayat is a village secretariat, then comes municipalities, then corporations, assembly, and then Lok Sabha. Why not discussions take place from there? Because it is judiciary, it should be in the common man's interest. How is the judiciary leaving out the core 80% sector of villages, municipalities? They don't even understand. They don't even are not part of appointment of judiciaries. That is what judges. It is making fun of it. And how can law or justice can be discriminatory to politicians and to common man, to cine celebrities and to journalists like us, and high-profile journalists who get midnight knock of the Supreme Court or High Court, and a rural stinger, when they are arrested, they are thrashed by police. The same courts, instead of hearing and delivering, and we have seen in Hyderabad and Andhra Pradesh and some parts of the country, how journalists are lifted from their homes as if they are terrorists bloody, to create fear psychosis, because they are presenting something which is truth in larger public interest with evidences. Courts are silent, they don't take it suo moto. And not only that, when you are presented in front of the magistrate, how is that magistrate doesn't give an audience to the one who has been lifted with that fear and all going on? Magistrate or judge, why doesn't he listen to him? Why he doesn't question the police as to why you have lifted him? What crime he has done? Did you issue him notice? As law demands, as principles of natural justice, as your own criminal procedure acts or courts demand, IPSC, CRPC, why magistrates or judges silent? Why they are allowing this, the law enforcing agencies, to lift anyone as and when they want, without a notice and without a trial? How is that you are keeping them in the jails? Is it not a fact that at least Supreme Court has come forward when it came to sedition? If I do something, if I do a show, some other state fellow will come, because now we have seen all politicians, political parties have become one. When it came to Corona, they have become one. When it came to corporate funding, now they cannot even source any through RTI or anything, which corporate company is funding how much and which political party. Political, even electoral bonds are opaque. Because of Corona, everyone is losing their jobs, children suffering for want of education. But see, before the 5 elections, Election Commission increases the spending limit. Courts keep quiet. How can courts keep quiet? Because commoners should not contest the election. They should not become a law enforcing agent or law. What should I say? Should not they go to assemblies and parliament, Lok Sabha? That means the justice system is derailed in the very basic structure of the constitution when it comes to free and fair elections. When you are commoner, you are not allowing him to even think of fighting the elections. Every corporates, when they are taking over, the democracy is in peril. And it is where Supreme Court, we thought, will come into play. We thought when they were increasing, instead of during Corona times, they should have taken suo moto. So many deaths have happened. Hospital, every corporate hospital or everywhere, people were agitating. So did High Court or Supreme Court take it suo moto? Why did they not go for trial? When common people were suffering, lakhs of rupees looted, people died. Now the same thing happening, as you rightly said, when law enforcing agency, through this political corrupt system, when they become one and their own pampered media, when they start imposing their will, is it not the public will which is losing? And is it not the public will which should prevail in a democracy, people participatory constitutional democracy? And the core aspect of upholding that is it not the role of judiciary and the justice system? So people wake up. It was a wonderful presentation by Ravichandran-ji. Once again, thought-provoking. Believe me, he does so much of work, hard work. And we are very core as per rule of law, constitution, invoking evidential act here also in this show. Every evidence is there. From everywhere the country should demand that Supreme Court should have civil or criminal benches in every region, south, east and west, even if need be, constitutional benches, so that justice is done swiftly, and the justice will be the same for whether it is neo-rich or whether he is the poorest of the food. The same justice system should be there. And then the appointment of judges should be in a transparent way. Only then the independence of the judiciary can be maintained. Come whatever may, they will stick to the rule of law, invoking Evidential Act. And if the law enforcing agencies, bosses, if they are trying to undermine the personal liberty and infringing the freedom, then these courts, through such judges, will play a larger role. And I only hope the Chief Justice will keep up his word. As you rightly said, police stations, if there are human rights violations and sedition cases, why are you silent, and why it took 15 months? If there was conflict of interest, videos which are appearing, you should recluse yourself and appoint a committee which should inquire in a transparent, accountable way, because it's loss of lives, precious lives, and the economy dwindled, ruined, because you are investing our money for a disease which has got 99.99% recovery on its own, and leaving out TB, tuberculosis, TB, typhoid, dengue, which are threatening, including cancer, which have been dreadful diseases. Why? Why there is no transparency and accountability in such cases wherein innocents were convicted, jailed, and even some people are, others are still waiting, and many are languishing in jails? Should not they be made accountable and punished as per rule of law? Only then a proper judiciary and justice system will prevail. Because no one should be above law. As we have been reiterating, no one should grow beyond the country. How can one encourage the country utilizing natural resources and human resources of this wonderful tree? Similar way, in judiciary and justice system, if you make everyone accountable and very transparent, your appointments to judgments, India will march ahead, and every citizen will be happy, because every citizen himself is constitutional authority by himself. All, whether it is executive, judiciary, parliamentary system, they are all subservient to the constitution, that is people of India. Thank you, sir. Wonderful to host you. Welcome from Telangana, Hyderabad, one who is there in Coimbatore, which we are across the globe. Because the same thing we underdeveloped or underdeveloped country, I should say. So, swift, rapid, judiciary justice system will be the essential aspect of any people participatory constitutional democracy. Democracy has to prevail. The rights, fundamental rights of the people have to prevail. It is nothing but the jury hope. As he writes a disclaimer, we are not here in contempt of anything. We discuss because of freedom of expression, and we are representing voice of the people, of so many innocents who cannot come, who cannot afford to go to Supreme Court, whether during bomb blasts or wherever sufferers are there, numerous, who are jailed and who are still struggling like journalists like us. Supreme Court still unable to go for a trial in allotting our house sites, which is our right. Many have died. Like there are innumerable cases, like latest being Corona, the after effects, and my money is being spent for vaccine or treatment or paying compensation without my knowledge. You are not giving me any information. From where you get the information, how you do it. Because make us resourceful, provide us all the information, and it should be larger public interest upholding the basic structure of our constitution. Thank you, sir. For all the Indians, for the world over, should be a wake-up call for all of you. Otherwise, we have seen what happened in Sri Lanka. People will come onto the roads if justice system fails when we own the political parliamentary system and the executives along with their pamphlets. Let us hope we will not go Sri Lanka. Good night, sir.